Shadow of the Erdtree is finally here, and when you get to the Shadow Realm, there's a completely different power scaling system in the game. And today I'm going to be showing you how to increase your power level in the Shadow Realm without having to fight any bosses in the game, and no spoilers whatsoever. This revolves around getting these Scadutree Fragments, which is going to increase your attack power and defensive stats in the Shadow Realm. Now you'll notice that when you go into your statuses, you now have these yellow stats. These are the stats of your power levels within the Shadow Realm. This is a really interesting way that they've allowed you to get a whole bunch of new things in this area that won't become too powerful outside of the realm. So you really can't be over-leveled or under-leveled for the zone, because these Scadutree Fragments really do dictate the power level that you have within this area. So you see right now that our Ray armament has 801 power, and if we rest at this Site of Grace and use our Shadow Realm Blessing to use 2 more of these Scadutree Fragments, we then go from 801 to 834, and all of our other stats increase as well. It's very similar to how you upgraded your flasks in the original game. You collect these objects, and then you go to a Site of Grace, where you will then be able to use your Shadow Realm Blessings. You need Scadutree Fragments to be able to do this, and Revered Spirit Ash Blessings to increase the strength and defense of your Spirit Ashes. Now the first time you go to use this, you only need 1 Scadutree Fragment. Everyone after that is going to require 2 of them. It is very important that you collect these, otherwise you're going to have a very bad time in the Shadow Realm. So we're going to be starting from the initial Site of Grace that you get to once you zone in, and you can hop onto your horse here, and if we head directly down this way, we want to go down this path and then over to this location right here called the Church of Consolation. I would also recommend picking up the map, which you can find in this area right here. Now, if you head south down this way, it's really not that far. All you need to do is just follow this road, and at the very end of this road, you're going to find a church here, and if you just run inside of it, in front of this headless statue is going to be 2 Scadutree Fragments. Now from here, what you can do is you can go back to the Gravesite Plains Site of Grace, hop back on your horse, and we're going to run directly past this tree to where I have that little blue icon over there. At this statue right next to the waterfall is where you're going to get your first Spirit Ash Blessing. There's actually 1 hidden Scadutree Fragment that you can find here as well. If you go from this location, you kind of go around the edge of where this town is, you can go over here, and I found this completely on accident near where all these steps are. There's actually going to be a group of enemies that spawn in this location, and this one with a pot right here, if you kill it, will actually drop a Scadutree Fragment for you. So make sure to grab that one. There's a lot of dogs and stuff around there as well, but just kill all the enemies around there and pick up your fragment. You can also pick up the Scorched Ruins Site of Grace right here, and then if you head a little bit farther north, you're going to find another Site of Grace and one of the Michaela's Crosses here. At the foot of every Michaela's Cross that you find, so anytime you see one of these, you're going to want to approach them because they will have a Scadutree Fragment there, so it's really handy to keep an eye out for these. Now, like I said, we're not going to be fighting any bosses to achieve any of these goals, but if we run this way, we're actually going to be heading east across this bridge, all the way over to the castle front gate. And just before you get to the castle front Site of Grace, you're going to see another headless statue here for another fragment. Now you can continue through this area and up around this corner right here. You're going to find the Castle Ennis checkpoint, as well as another Michaela's Cross where there will be another fragment. Now you can choose to fight the boss inside of Castle Ennis, which will be a shortcut out to the other side here. But like I said, we don't need to fight any bosses to actually do this. So we're actually going to head back to the Site of Grace right here. Now at this Site of Grace, we're going to head west through this little mountain with the archways, and at the end of this is going to be another Site of Grace, as well as another Michaela's Cross. Now from this Site of Grace, we're going to head east back down the hill, and we need to make our way through these mountains. You're going to make your way through the mountains and then out over to this location over here. Just kind of go around this corner here, and you really don't have to fight anything along this path if you don't want to. There's plenty of things to explore along this area. Please don't fall off the edge and almost die like me though. Now, once you come out to the other side, as you approach this church, there will be a Site of Grace that you can pick up. And from the Site of Grace, you just need to continue following this road southwest. There's going to be another one of these enemies at the end of this in this graveyard that have the pot. You're going to want to keep an eye out for these throughout your gameplay, because each one of those will have one of the fragments inside of them. Also got Silver Horn Tender and Red Flesh Mushrooms. Now, if you turn back around from there and head towards that big spire, you're going to be going basically directly east. There's a little swamp right here, and on the other side of this swamp is another one of these statues where you can pick up the revered spirit ash to level up your summons. That is right here on the map. So we went from here and across to this location right here. Now, if you fast travel back to the 3-path cross here, and just head a little bit north, you're going to find the Great Bridge North Site of Grace, where you're going to find this burnt down town. Now, what we need to do is head through this town, and just on the other side is going to be another item that we can use to upgrade our summons. You're going to want to go right back here, and there's going to be another one of these dead statues around all these little bugs that are a little bit of a pain. Now, you're going to want to fast travel back to the Castle Front Site of Grace, and then from the Site of Grace, you're going to head east, and there's actually a little path back here that you can follow. So just hop down this little ledge here, and then follow the road kind of like southeast. And then where this path splits, you're going to want to take the left path here, and you can see the Michaela's Cross just ahead of us. Pick up this fragment, and you might as well pick up the Site of Grace too. This location is just on the edge right here. Now you can fast travel back to the castle front again, and from the gravesite plains, and then from this Site of Grace, we're gonna do the same path that we did last time, except instead of following the road, we're actually going to go down into this little area down here, and you're just gonna follow this road south. At the fork in the road, you're going to turn left. There is a dungeon over there on the right if you want to pick up the Site of Grace that's over there. We're basically just going to keep going down into this area. Once you get to the swampy area, we're going to go directly across, and we're going to start heading over to where that shack is over on the distance over there. Now, once you get up to this shack, you're going to look for this little object that you need to slap. I believe it is right around here somewhere. Yeah, it's going to be right here. You're going to see some markers here. If you slap this, it's going to unlock this updraft for you. Now, what you can do, there's two different things you can do here. This is a very, very big jump. If you kind of go in at this angle, looking kind of just almost north, and then hop, it's going to take you all the way up, and then we'll land here. And then there's going to be another updraft just over here. Now, this is the one where there's two different things that can happen. You can either jump directly into the castle that's above, or you can jump to the right and avoid the castle completely. It's up to you what you want to do, but if you kind of turn left, you'll end up in the castle to a shortcut to this Site of Grace, which is pretty awesome. And then from here, you can actually just run through. You can completely avoid this little guy right here. There's a couple cool things that you can get inside of here if you so desire. There is another Site of Grace on the other side, so at least that way you can come back to this location quickly. You don't actually have to run through here if you don't want, but there's another Site of Grace right here that you can pick up. And then there's going to be yet another Site of Grace just on the other side. I think we can make this jump without dying. Yep. And this actually completely allows us to bypass one of the first bosses in the game, which is in Castle Ennis. And then we have free access to this entire back area now. Now, from this Site of Grace, you're going to go along this road right here, and we're going to go through this tunnel. Just continue along this road. And then up here on the left, you're going to see a little encampment. There's quite a few enemies around here. But what you can do is if you go inside of this encampment, there's going to be a statue right here with another tree fragment, and you can run directly through. And then we're going to follow this road and then up and to the left. So just turn around this corner and then head back towards this castle. We're going to see another Michaela's Cross and a Site of Grace, which is right here on the map. Now from this Site of Grace, we're going to head northwest to that church directly over there. Now, once you get up to this church, once you go inside, you will be invaded. All you need to do is run up to the statue at the very end, pick up the fragments, and run away. You will get 2 for going inside of there. And then from here, you can just turn around, and we're going to head down into this little encampment just east of this area. Inside of this little encampment, next to another statue, is going to be another fragment. Just kind of watch out for the giant death tree that's here. From that campsite, you're going to want to head southeast. We're going to be going down this road and then into this little lake area here. You're going to see a bunch of those weird little worm boys, and then another friendly statue. Now, with all of these fragments that I've shown you in this video so far, you should be able to get to Scadutree Blessing 8 and Revered Spirit Ash Blessing 3. This is a pretty significant increase to your damage and defenses. At the beginning of the video, I was started off at 801. I'm currently at 935 now, and this is a pretty significant increase to your attack power and defense in the game. Now, I will also be showing you how to get some early game weapons in the next video, like the light greatsword called Milady, and a few other things, so definitely make sure to keep an eye out for that video because these weapons are so much fun.